you tell me your experience in prison?
I served 24 years in the California prison system, and while I was inside prison, I did a number of jobs. Everything from working in the kitchen, to working on the yard, to working in the scullery, to working as a porter, to working as a hospital janitor. I did a number of jobs while I was incarcerated for 24 years. They tell the public that a person that's incarcerated has the right to say no, but that's not the truth. If a person says no, then they will receive a 115 or 128, which is the equivalent of a modern day whip. So here in America, like in the California prison system, slavery never ended. If you don't want to do the job, they make it difficult for you to get in your cell or for you to get around inside of the prison or get the smallest things accomplished. That is a form of torture. Torture is not just waterboarding or tying somebody up, or torture is also utilizing the processes and the procedures that are available to you to make somebody's life miserable. The lowest I got paid was nothing. I worked for free. The highest that I got paid was 75 cents an hour. And then they would take 55% of that. They would take it back for restitution, supposedly in court fees.
Why did you drop the ACA 3 bill? What's its purpose?
ACA 3, the California Abolition Act, is in direct response to the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution. So in 1865, at the conclusion of the Civil War, the 13th Amendment was ratified. And supposedly, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery. That's what they said. But it didn't abolish slavery. What it did was it conditioned slavery. And I was, like I just told you, the first person in the state to have to go clean those COVID cells. They told me that if I didn't come to work, I would receive a 115 or a disciplinary report. And I was scheduled to go to the Board of Parole hearings because I was a lifer person. I had life in prison. That's what I was sentenced to. And so, in order to get out, I had to appear before the Board of Parole hearings. And you cannot have any disciplinary infractions in order to get out for at least 5 years for them to even consider letting you out. So I couldn't afford to receive that. So when he threatened me with it, all I could do was report to work. And eventually I did catch COVID, and I almost died. But I remember going back and I told my wife, like, baby, I don't want to die doing this job. And I want to appeal it. She was like, well, can't you appeal it? I said, I can, but even if I appeal it, the Constitution is going to support their argument and they're going to win. He said, well, let's change the Constitution. I wrote the amendment or the language that will become the amendment. She took it to the Capitol to then Assembly Member Sidney Kamlager, who is now Senator Sidney Kamlager, and she authored the bill. And so it became a real thing. And we passed through the California Assembly unanimously, 59-0. We passed through the Senate Public Safety Committee unanimously, through the Senate Elections Committee unanimously, through the Appropriations unanimously. And then when we went to the Senate floor vote, for the last vote before we go to the board, white supremacy reared its ugly head. And these two politicians in particular, Glazer and Dodd, they began a campaign of fear-mongering and trying to steal the narrative about what the bill is about. So they started telling these stories about the bill was being put forward to make life easy on people who are incarcerated, easy on criminals and easy on prisoners, and disregard the rights of victims. They said that this wasn't about ending slavery, this was just about getting money to prisoners. And so they lied, and they began to change the narrative, but still, the will of the people to end slavery in California is strong, so the other senators were willing to vote on behalf of the bill. But But when the vote was supposed to take place, they like prolonged them until they ran out of time. So ultimately, it didn't even get voted on. They denied the people the voice and opportunity to vote on this critical and historical issue. And I feel in 2024 is really going to cost them, because now we're going to return more educated, more agitated, more concentrated and dedicated to ending slavery once and for all.
Why do you think forced labor or slavery is so difficult to eradicate in the United States?
Plantation economics is at the core engine of America's economy. You know, you have so many of these mainstream companies and organizations that benefit from captive labor, from prison labor. If they get a cheap labor force from people who are incarcerated, they then have incentive to support tough on crime legislation that decimates communities of color just so they can go to the prison and have cheap labor. That's one aspect. The other one is this deeply rooted white supremacy. And, you know, over here in America, there's been this movement to stomp out the vestiges of white supremacy. They've torn down street signs. They've taken down statues. But aside from the street signs and the statues, we have to make sure that we get the statutes. I look at the news and I hear the reports about, other countries and their penal systems, or the things that are said about China and other places in the world. And America is supposed to be the light of the world, but it's hypocritical, it's hypocrisy. Because here we have slavery that's been taking place and has never ended. And then when you bring it to the attention of the politicians and of these people who are in a position to make a change, then they come up with reasons to justify it and continue to practice. And we should do better. And that America needs to be held, accountable on a global scale. They should put forth, they should live the ideals that they preach. We talk about freedom. We just made Juneteenth for a national holiday, but how can we celebrate Juneteenth when we still have slavery? It's premature. But I would love for people outside of the country to begin to pay attention to the carceral system in America, how it continues to target black people and other people of color, and hold America's feet to the flame. Hold them accountable.